Like, it's got a little bit of zing to it. I described it before in another review as really tightly strung trampolines, and you just get that little pop sensation. Scores are in and testing is complete, and this is the full review of the Nike Pegasus Premium. But before we get into it, a big shout out to my #1 running store, the Running Company at Geelong. I've got a link to their website in the description. Make sure you go check out that and check out all their running gear. And also guys, if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And with the specs, so this one is a neutral road running shoe, and certainly in that max cushion category. Now in Australia, you're going to pay a pretty hefty price here, so $300, and you're going to pay $210 in the US. Now in the weight, again, it's a pretty weighty shoe. So in my size, 313 grams or about 11 ounces, and that's in my men's 8.5. Now in the stack, huge stack, 45 in the rear, 35 in the front, and that's going to give us a 10mm drop. And for the scores, so I know this shoe has got a lot of tech packed into it. However, I still think at $300 it's too expensive. 6 out of 10. And in the weight, yes, it is a very weighty shoe. It's quite bottom heavy, so it doesn't read well. However, it actually doesn't run as heavy as what the stats say on paper. 6.5 out of 10. And in the upper, so you can tell by the design here that it's certainly got the Pegasus silhouette. The materials that they're using, well, they use two materials in the upper here. The main one, and the one that I like, is the one that's at the top of the shoe, and that's a circular knit. Now this circular knit reminds me of the fly knit that they use in the Vaporfly 3. So it is remarkably breathable, absolutely love it. And then they use an engineered mesh towards the bottom of the shoe, and that gives that knit a little bit of structure. Now, really solid heel counter at the back, and we've got a little Achilles flare here, and I'm going to say there's a fair bit of padding around the heel collar there. Really nice. We've got a plush amount of padding on the tongue. The tongue is not gusseted, however, I haven't found that being an issue in this shoe. I haven't had the tongue sliding around at all. A really unique feature that I do like with this big puffy tongue is these holes that it's got up and down the tongue. So that really does, there's holes going straight through into the foot, so that adds to the breathability of the shoe. Really like it. And again, the tongue is super comfortable. The lacing system, so they don't have eyelets. They've got these like an internal midfoot strap, and that goes into these lace loops here. Now, I'm still having dramas with trying to get the laces pressure right, trying to get that midfoot lockdown secured, so I'm having a bit of drama there. It could be better, but lockdown in the heel, I'm having no dramas whatsoever. In the fit, true to size in the length, but it's a narrow shoe, narrow fit, and it's got to do with the reinforcements they've got around the toe box here. They've got this reflective tape around the outside, and that just, it sort of just takes any flexibility that this knit might provide in that toe box area. However, saying that, it's got a good amount of volume in the toe box. Now, build quality, for me, I mentioned it before on my first impressions, it's got to be the best built Nike I think that I have ever seen. And in the outsole, so I've discovered that there's something pretty unique about the bottom of the outsole. So it's something that I have not seen in a Nike shoe before. And as I've worn down the shoe, I can actually see what they mean by this modified waffle outsole. So especially in this forefoot area, because it's wearing down, and to the touch, it's not actually a rubber. It actually feels like it's still like midsole foam, so it could be a rubberized EVA. So that's what this part of the shoe is. It's certainly not rubber, because I can tell by my wear marks that it is, yeah, it's wearing down like foam. We've also got some exposed foam through the middle of the shoe, and then we've actually got that high abrasion rubber in the high wear areas at the rear. So this is certainly rubber. It looks like rubber, it feels like rubber, it's wearing down like rubber, but not so much in the forefoot. But performance-wise, in the grip, it is excellent in the wet and dry, no problems at all. And in the durability, so over 100 kilometers again in this shoe, and I'm really impressed with how much this shoe has held up over that period. So minimal signs of wear, but what is really unique is just my wear pattern in this shoe. So where I'm wearing down in the shoe, it's not like any other shoe. So I usually get my wear pattern is here and down here. However, in this shoe, I've got it here, but I've got it here, like right up pretty much on the forefoot, on the lateral side there. So very unique. However, scores wise, Not too many complaints here with the outsole. I quite like the grip. It performs well, 8.5 out of 10. And in the midsole, so this is where all the tech is squeezed into the shoe. So we've got something again that I have not seen in another Nike shoe. So we've got 3 different layers of technology in this shoe. So our top layer of the midsole is their premium super foam, so Zoom X. I'm pretty sure everyone is aware of that foam. So really bouncy, soft and energetic. It's the one they use in all their race shoes. Then under that they have got a full length Air Zoom unit. Now this Air Zoom unit, it's actually contoured, as you can see the shape of it there. It's not just this big flat slab of like you would see in an Air Max shoe. It's actually contoured, which is really unique. It's sort of like what you would envision the shape of a carbon plate to be. Now under our Air Zoom unit, we've got our bottom layer of foam, and that is just their React X foam, and that's designed there to give the shoe a little bit of durability and add to the stability as well. Now rigidity wise, I did say that it does not have a carbon plate, but it's got a pretty stiff Air Zoom unit in it. And stiffness wise, this shoe is super stiff. You can bend it, but I know that's not good for the airbag, so I won't try to bend it in half. Now geometry wise, again, we've got a little bit of a curvature here under the forefoot. So a little bit of a forefoot rocker there. It certainly doesn't come across as an overly rocketed shoe, but it's certainly curved enough to take any slappiness out of the ride. And in the ride, so if you watch my first impressions review, I did describe this ride as bouncy. Now, has my opinion changed? Well, no, it hasn't. I still think it is a really bouncy ride. However, it's a really unique bounce. There is nothing on the market that's quite like it. Now, the feedback of the ride and the bounce you get out of this shoe is really inconsistent. So if you land through the heel, you're going to get a lot of squish, and you're still going to get a lot of bounce out of the heel, but depending on how much you pronate, it can be a little bit wild and unstable through the rear. It does get a little bit more consistent through the midfoot and through the forefoot, and that's where I enjoy this shoe the most. So once I start midfoot striking in this shoe, I get a good amount of pop and a good amount of energy return. Nice, a little bit of bounce. Like it's got a little bit of zing to it. I described it before in another review as really tightly strung trampolines, and you just get that little pop sensation. So not a lot of sink, but just a really exciting amount of pop. And from there, again, that just gets me ticking over in the shoe. Even though it's quite a heavy shoe, I still feel quite efficient in the shoe, which is really strange. Now what I've learned to do in a shoe that is bottom heavy, and the first Prime X taught me this. So what I do is I don't fight the weight of the shoe. I let the shoe dictate the pace that I run. So I don't try to force a certain pace in, or I don't try to run at a certain cadence. I just let the shoe roll, and I use it like a pendulum, and how fast and how natural that rhythm goes once I start running in it, that's what I mean when I let the shoe dictate how I run. And that results in me feeling like I'm not actually putting too much work into the shoe, and I'm just using the weight to my advantage. And best use, so for me, this is where this shoe's biggest downfall is, and it's its lack of versatility, because what I just explained earlier is I let the shoe dictate the pace for me. Where does it feel good at in that pendulum swing? For me, it's steady pace, and it doesn't really feel good at too many other paces, so hence resulting in not a very versatile shoe. If you try to push the pace in it, it's just a little bit too heavy. And if you just try to plod along, for me, it feels a little bit unstable and clunky. So I'd probably use this run for all my steady runs up to about 90 minutes. And who is this shoe best for? So certainly for neutral runners. If you require any type of stability, or you're worried about your pronation, then I'd probably stay away from this shoe. Also, I think midfoot strikers, forefoot strikers are going to get probably the most out of this shoe, and if you're a really neutral rear foot striker as well, you're probably going to enjoy the ride. Also, Nike fans, I think this is going to be a good collector's item for you guys. So some other options out there if you are considering this shoe. So the first shoe that I'll mention is the Puma Mag Max Nitro. So that one, again, really high stack. It's got a much wider base though, so you're going to feel a little bit more safe and stable in that shoe. It's got a nice little pop and bounce about that shoe as well. The next one I'll mention is the Hoka Skyward X. Again, not much sink into that foam, but you still get that nice little poppy bouncing type ride, just like this one, but it's lots more expensive. And the last one I'll mention, just to throw a bit of a spanner in the work, but if you're looking for a really plush premium shoe, the best one on the market for me is the Brooks Glycerin Max. So it's definitely not the fastest shoe, certainly not the lightest shoe, and it's not the most stable shoe. But for some reason, it kind of worked for me. I did enjoy my time in it, and I quite enjoyed the ride. I enjoyed that little pop and bounce feeling that this shoe gave. And also, surprisingly, again, I couldn't believe how efficient I felt in the shoe. Now, I know this ride is certainly not going to be for everyone, and saying that, it's certainly not a definite buy. It is consider other options, especially at that price point. There's a lot of other runner-friendly shoes available at that price point, and certainly cheaper than this shoe. So this shoe certainly really just designed for a specific type of person. But all in all, a pretty interesting experience in this shoe. But anyway, guys, that's it from me. Any questions you've got regarding this shoe, you know where to put it. Throw it in the comments. If you want to know how it compares to anything else, throw it in the comments. Thanks for watching. Make sure you give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.